Aloha, namaste. This is Alexis Cox with Radha Home Yoga, and I'm bringing you your full moon forecast for August 26th here around 4 a.m. California time. We're going to have a full moon in the sidereal sign of Aquarius in the nakshatra Satabishak. Satabishak is the 100 healers. It's the place in the sky that is said to be a place that if you become ill in this nakshatra, 100 healers will not be able to cure you. If you conversely find a cure for whatever's ailing you under this nakshatra, you will be healed completely. It is a place in the sky that's ruled by the god Varuna from the Rig Veda. Varuna is the god of the underworld. He's often associated with water and called the god of the water. This has to do with the sun's movement through the sky and how it sets in the west on the horizon and appears to go underneath for the whole nighttime. So Varuna is the god of the night sky, the god of the realm we're not seeing, the underrealm, and therefore is considered an asura, which is translated to demon. But from a Western perspective, we have this sort of idea of what demons might be. In the Vedic perspective, that are the forces of darkness that are necessary to balance the forces of light. So both the demons, the asuras, and the devas, the gods, have practices and actions they do that are not necessarily good, for lack of a better word. They're not necessarily aligned, and in Hawaii we would say pono, but they also both have qualities that are sattvic, are reaching towards spirit, are trying to become closer to oneness. So you see that happening on both sides of the coin. It's not that the gods are good and the demons are bad. It's challenging for our Western minds to wrap our head around. But the forces of dark are necessary in order to illuminate the light. Without the darkness, we wouldn't see the stars, we wouldn't see the moon, and we wouldn't know what was light. So Varuna rules this night sky, this underworld, this part of the world that is not out during the day, that isn't bright in the sun, but is a little bit cooler and I don't want to say deeper, but there's a depth to it, to what we're experiencing in this nakshatra. In the sign of Aquarius, it's very much about new systems and technology, ways of moving forward in this world that are different from what we've done before. You can see subversive activity or non-conformism. Certainly social movements and things like that can take place in this nakshatra as well. So hopefully for us here in our world, which is so ailing at this point in time, I mean, the earth itself is literally, screaming. We see earthquakes, we see hurricanes, we see flooding in India and Kerala. We, my hometown of Hawaii just finally had a cease in the volcanic activity and now is in the middle of being hit by a hurricane. With earthquakes in so many places I can't even count, and volcanic activity in other places. And then there's the human reality where people are angry, and you see violence and you see turbulence in the political realm and really all over the place. So I'm trying to keep myself from swinging. I'm on a swing thing and it's hard to not kind of move it. So this is a place where we really have a chance as humans to band together and to work towards the systems that will work for us, for the future we do want to see, and to subvert the systems that are not working, that are already in place, the status quo, that clearly is not working. So there's going to be people on all sides of that equation and with a lot of different visions of what that looks like. And some of them might vastly differ from what you personally feel is the best way to go about that. So that's the issue, right, is that it's going to collide. It's not like everyone's on the same page about how making things better looks. That's really our fundamental problem in our world, is that we all want things to be better. We just have a different idea of what that looks like and how that's going to actually happen. So it's not about cramming your ideas in someone else's head or forcing someone else to see things the way that you do. It's about creating systems and things that work. Instead of pointing out what does not work, create what does. And when people see what does work, they will gravitate towards it. They will move in that direction naturally. Of course, you have to point out what doesn't work in order to know what needs to change, but to harp on that, to spend all the energy in that negative realm, is not going to bring the new day, is not going to bring the sun back up again. So we want to be down in the dark and sort of see what's shadowy and what's not working, but we also want to be able to come back into the light and actually manifest and make things happen in this concrete world, in this reality that we're all living in. So this is a big theme for this full moon here, and it's a full moon that brings us also a lot of forward motion, because we've had so many planets retrograde this summer. It's been, Jupiter went direct about a month ago, but a little over a month ago, but we've still had Saturn retrograde, we've had Mars retrograde, and we've had Mercury retrograde. Mercury just went back direct. I'm sure you all felt it in your technological capacity to send an email, turn something on, just have some forward motion with your communication. That was on August 19th, so just a little bit ago. And we have Mars going to move direct again August 27th, so just a day after this full moon. And Mars being retrograde has really been challenging for us, because Mars has been in its exalted place in the sky in Capricorn, and that forward motion, that desire to get things done that really happens when Mars visits Capricorn, has been stalled and halted. Because the South Node Ketu has been there with Mars, it's been fiery and explosive. So perhaps the retrograde motion brought some slowness, some hesitation that maybe even was welcome, because it's intense. When we full on attack something that we don't really want to deal with, it's sometimes nice to even have a pause or a break. Because Mars energy, when it's exalted, of course, isn't necessarily pleasant, because Mars energy in general is not necessarily pleasant. It's the fighter. It's the part of us that has courage and bravery to face our fears, but, that's not fun. It's not like Venus or Jupiter that brings us, fun or blessings and optimism and joy. So that part of us that is, a warrior, that is a warrioress, is been kind of halted and probably frustrated, because we were sort of moving forward. We were, even though it didn't feel good and we didn't necessarily want to attack it, we were doing it, right? And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, what's happening? Everything's slowed down, and we already had these other planets retrograde that aren't helping. So now we're going to see ourselves moving forward again, basically. And the Mars, the K2, I've talked about this all summer because it's been the big theme of the summer. It's going to come back together again, right? There's one more time, because Mars went forward, ran into K2 first week of June 7th, I believe it was, and then went retrograde and passed back over K2, and that was, July 18th, I want to say. And now we're moving back forward again. So starting on the 27th, Mars will start its forward motion, and at the end of September, we're going to see those two collide one last time. So we might have, we might feel ourselves heating back up again on whatever was sort of put aside and stagnated, and certainly in the geological realm as well. Saturn is our final planet that we need to move forward, and that is happening September 6th, and we're going to see that we're suddenly able to make choices, commitments, because Saturn is where we really roll up our sleeves, do the hard work, and buckle down. And with it retrograde, it's been really hard. It's been hard to just even figure out what it is we're committing to, what it is we believe in, because it's been in the sidereal sign of Sagittarius, which is about our beliefs. So seeing Saturn move forward is going to be a great blessing for all of us, to move forward on our commitments, what we believe in, what our philosophies are, what our ideals are, and just whatever area of your life Saturn is visiting right now, whatever house that is for you, which is of course different for each of us, we'll really see that forward motion again, and that presence with our fear, which doesn't sound great because who wants to be present with their fear, but you do need to know what it is that you're afraid of, so that you know what it is you're working towards and what you're avoiding vis-a-vis hard work, vis-a-vis again, rolling up your sleeves and humbling yourself in some direction. Because there's been helicopters flying really all summer, but quite a lot recently. So I guess that's also part of the whole, there's so much going on right now, and there's this surgence from underneath where everything's sort of exploding, and then there's also, of course, going to be the militants and that aspect that tries to bring order into the chaos and tries to control the disorder. And so we might have seen heightened police activity as well, and things like helicopters and just enforcement stepping in and trying to control that which in many ways can't be controlled. And perhaps it's time for a little bit of chaos to release what's not been working, so that we really can move forward. So just a couple more things before I sign off here. Venus has been in its state of debilitation in the sign of Virgo since the last time I was here visiting you guys. And on September 1st, she will move into her home sign of Libra, which will be such a blessing for our relationships, for our capacity to engage with other humans, other adults in a harmonious way, to find that balance, that part of us that wants both people to be happy. Because when Venus is in Virgo, there's a selfishness around our happiness, and there's also a lot of self-effacing and insecurity and things like that debilitate our happiness. But when Venus is in Libra, we really see how much better it is to enjoy our time with others and to relate to others in a way that feels good. So just a couple more days on that, and then we will be feeling some relief in the realm of happiness, more beauty, more pleasure, more love, more harmony, and it'll be joined to Jupiter, so more hope as well. Jupiter is not in its best dignity in Libra, so when Venus moves in, it will have a little bit of support, and that the one thing to say about that is that Jupiter, the reason it's not great in Libra is because we tend to fold on our principles, we tend to fold on our ideals in service or in favor of pleasure, joy, and in connecting to another being, when our principles and ideals maybe do better when we're standing in them on our own. When we feel what we feel and we know it, we can band with other people who feel the same way as us, but we don't want to fold or change what we believe because of other people. And we also don't want to fold on our spiritual practices or our beliefs in order to relate to another person. So while that part won't necessarily be better because Venus is there, it will actually probably be worse, because we'll be more likely to want to harmonize and less likely to hold to our ideals and principles. But sometimes our principles and ideals are not right, and when Jupiter's in a sign like Libra, we're less likely to have really true principles, really true values. It shows this sort of social justice movement, which is awesome, but it also shows the limitations of that kind of movement, where we're not tapping into completely changing the paradigm, where we're sticking with old ways and trying to make things different within a realm that pre-existed. And when you see a planet that's not necessarily in good intelligence, that's not necessarily operating that well in a sign, it's always sort of helpful to have other planets that are operating better. So even though our social justice is necessary and needed, perhaps we'll find a little more love and a little more peace and resolve in that, instead of so much fighting and anger, and sort of blaming others for where we're at. Because the truth is, I see this a lot, depending on what side of the arena you're on, there really is a high tendency to point the finger at other people. I mean, I've seen some horrible things written on Facebook from people that I love and admire and respect, about what they hope happens to somebody who believes something different than them, or how they hope that person is the one who gets the repercussions from the bad choices they've made. And that's really that's a dangerous cycle to fall into, where we hope other people have bad experiences because of bad decisions we think they've made. Everyone has different choices in front of them and different pieces of the puzzle that they're looking at. So the choices that you might make are not necessarily the same choices someone else is going to make, and they're not necessarily wrong because they're not making your choices. In fact, they're probably not wrong for not making your choices, and for not agreeing with you. So it's great to band together with like-minded people and like-minded souls, but we really have to be aware of what we're alienating and why. Is it helpful? Is it bettering whatever cause you have? Is it helping your cause? Because if it's not, then what are you doing? That's just creating more angst, more anger, more alienation, more separation, and that's always farther from truth, always farther from source. So some food for thought here on the 24th today is, so we have a couple more days here until our full moon, and I hope this was helpful. If you like the video, you can like or comment, you can share as well, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a beautiful day, and namaste.